The air in our living room felt thick, like it was holding its breath. The clock on the mantel ticked too loudly, each second a hammer against my skull. Sarah sat across from me on the edge of the couch, her hands twisting the hem of her sweater, her eyes darting to the floor. She hadn't looked at me in minutes, not since she'd whispered those words that now hung between us, jagged and unyielding. "I'm pregnant, and it might not be yours." My chest tightened, as if someone had wrapped a chain around my ribs and yanked. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my throat was a desert, and all I could do was stare at the woman I'd loved for 8 years, searching for the stranger who'd just spoken. The lamplight cast shadows across her face, sharpening the guilt etched into her furrowed brow. How had we gotten here? How had I missed the cracks in our life together? It started with small things, didn't it? The late nights at work, her phone screen always tilted just out of my view, the way she'd laugh at messages she never shared. I told myself it was nothing. Sarah was dedicated, ambitious, her marketing job demanding more with every promotion. I'd rationalized the distance, the way her kisses felt perfunctory, like checking a box. But now, those moments flickered in my mind like warning lights I'd ignored on a dashboard, each one screaming that something was wrong. "Say something, Tom," she pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes finally met mine, red-rimmed and glassy, but I couldn't read them. Was it shame? Fear? Or something colder, something that didn't care about me at all? I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, my hands clasped so tightly my knuckles ached. "How long?" My voice sounded foreign, low and raw, like it belonged to someone else. She flinched, as if the question were a slap. It wasn't planned. It just happened. Just happened. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that echoed in the quiet room. "You don't just happen to sleep with someone else, Sarah. You don't just happen to get pregnant." Her lips parted, but no words came. She looked small, folded into herself, the woman who'd once danced with me in this very room, laughing as we tripped over the rug, now reduced to a shadow of that memory. I wanted to hate her, to let the anger surging in my chest consume me, but love clung stubbornly, a splinter I couldn't pull out. "Tell me who," I said, my voice steadier now, though my heart pounded like a war drum. "Tell me everything." She swallowed hard, her fingers digging into the couch cushion. It was Mark. From work. The name landed like a grenade, and I saw him in my mind, her coworker, the charming one with the easy smile who'd always lingered too long at company parties. I'd shaken his hand, shared beers with him, never suspecting he was carving a place in my wife's life. "When?" I pressed, needing the timeline, needing to map the betrayal. 3 months ago," she said, her voice breaking. "It was one night, Tom. I swear. We were working late, and there was wine and I don't know how it happened. I was lonely, and you were always so busy with the restaurant, and don't." I cut her off, my hands trembling. "Don't you dare blame me for this." The air felt hotter now, the walls closing in. I stood, pacing the room, my boots scuffing against the hardwood. The restaurant, my dream, our dream, had consumed me, sure. Late nights prepping menus, early mornings meeting suppliers. But I'd done it for us, for the future we'd planned. Hadn't I? I stopped by the window, staring out at the dark street. The neighbor's porch light flickered, casting a weak glow on the empty sidewalk. I could still smell her perfume, that faint lavender scent that used to mean home. Now it felt like a lie. "Tom, I'm so sorry," she said behind me, her voice thick with tears. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I love you." I turned, my eyes burning. "You love me? Then why didn't you tell me you were lonely? Why didn't you fight for us?" My voice cracked, and I hated it, hated the vulnerability that spilled out. I wanted to be stone unyielding, but all I felt was the ache of a life unraveling. She stood now, taking a tentative step toward me, her hands outstretched. I was scared. I didn't know how to fix it. And then, when I found out I was pregnant, I thought maybe it could be a new start. For us. I stared at her, disbelief twisting in my gut. "A new start? Sarah, you don't even know if it's mine." The words tasted like ash, and her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. For a moment, I wanted to hold her, to wipe away her pain, but the image of her with him, Mark, flashed in my mind, and I stepped back, my hands clenched into fists. How could you do this? I asked, more to myself than to her. My mind raced, replaying every moment I'd trusted her, every late-night call I'd dismissed as work, every smile I'd taken at face value. Had she been lying then, too? How many secrets had she buried in those moments? I don't know, she sobbed, sinking back onto the couch. I hate myself for it. I didn't want this. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But trust was a shattered mirror, and every piece reflected a different version of her, a version I didn't know. I thought of the pregnancy, the life growing inside her, and my stomach churned. Was it mine? Could I love it if it wasn't? The questions clawed at me, each one sharper than the last. The room felt too small, the air too heavy. I grabbed my jacket from the chair, my movements jerky, desperate. I need to think, I said, avoiding her eyes. I can't be here right now. Tom, please, she called after me, her voice breaking. Don't leave. We can figure this out. But I was already at the door, the cold metal of the knob grounding me as I turned it. The night air hit me like a slap as I stepped outside, the stars above indifferent to the chaos below. I walked, not knowing where, the streetlights blurring through the tears I hadn't realized were falling. Hours later, I found myself at the restaurant, the place that had been my refuge, my pride. The neon sign buzzed faintly, casting a red glow over the empty parking lot. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, the smell of garlic and fresh bread wrapping around me. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies every thought. I sank into a booth, my hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. There was a text from Sarah. I'm still here. I'll wait as long as it takes. I stared at the words, my thumb hovering over the screen. Part of me wanted to go back, to fight for her, for us. But another part, the part that burned with betrayal, whispered a different truth. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Then I noticed it, a small, folded note tucked under a menu on the table. My name was scrawled on it in Sarah's handwriting. My heart stuttered as I opened it, the paper trembling in my hands. It read, I've known for weeks. I was too afraid to tell you. If you can't forgive me, I understand. But know that I'll love you always, no matter what. I crumpled the note, my breath hitching. She'd known. She'd carried this secret, this bomb, and let it tick until it exploded. But as I sat there, surrounded by the life we'd built, I realized the real twist wasn't her betrayal. It was mine. I'd been absent, consumed by work, blind to her loneliness. Maybe I hadn't cheated, but I'd failed her in my own way. The tears came harder now, and I didn't stop them. I didn't know if I could forgive her, or if I could forgive myself. But as the first light of dawn crept through the restaurant windows, one truth settled in my bones. Whatever came next, we'd face it together, or not at all.